Okay, this is Jacob Schmidt with DeerHuntingSchool.com. In this video here, I'm going to talk about trail cameras, using trail cameras. And one thing that I want to talk about is something that I don't really see many guys talk about when they talk about using trail cameras. And that is using past trail cameras and past pictures and data and stuff like that to help you kill mature bucks. And I'm hunting public land, it's pressure, these deer are under pressure, and they know it. They know when the pressure's on. They know what's going on. They're more nocturnal, they're more weary than less hunted deer, okay? So you've got to be able to out-slick them, and I think that guys using trail cameras the wrong way is probably one of the worst things you can do. They're a valuable tool, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we get to see what the deer are doing when we're not there, okay? We get to see, what they're doing. It stands the time, it stands the temperature, a lot of them stands the moon phase, there's some now, the barometric pressure stamped on there. I mean, there's all kinds of information that's there. It's hard data that you get to keep. But I don't hear many guys talk about using that data from the past. Going back years past and looking at what the deer were doing last year compared to this year, the year before compared to this year, last year, or 3 years ago compared to this year, and looking at that, and looking at how the weather, what the weather was and stuff like that. Them are ways that you can have a very low impact on deer. I'm taking this trail camera here, and what I'm actually doing is I'm going to put it up on a spot that I found some deer last year. The buck I hunted last year, I think he got killed. But he had another buck with him that I had pictures of at the end of the season. Deer season was over, I had pictures of this buck, and he was still alive. And he was a decent buck last year, but this year he's going to have another year on him, and that's what creates big horns, is age, okay? I mean, you got to have nutrition, food, genetics, but the number one thing is age. You've got to have age. So he's going to be a year older, he's going to be bigger, okay? And I have him pegged, I have the deer stand set up, I know the wind directions, I know what weather conditions that he's going to come in there the most, okay? And the buck I hunted last year, I'll tell you real quick, was a 10-point. He was a really nice 10-point. He was a Popin young buck, and I had him, or at least I thought I did. He was coming in the second evening. I looked up, and here he comes with his bachelor group. They're coming in, they're about 60 yards out, and I thought I had him, and my youngest son was hunting with my wife, and he wouldn't be still, so she said, we're going back to the vehicle. And he just happened to fall in line at about 15 seconds after I looked up and seen this Popin young buck walking straight towards me at about 60 yards. My son hooped and hollered at the vehicle, and he just stopped. Him and his buddies, they just stopped and they stood there and just looked around, throwing his nose up, trying to get a whiff, figuring out what the world the heck that was. It's up there making some noise. It is, no idea. And he never did anything but just stood there until dark, until I couldn't see him anymore, which was about 45 minutes. I just sit there and watch this deer for about 45 minutes, and never did kill him. Make a long story short, he disappeared about the rut. Never got a picture of him again, but there was an 8-pointer with him. There was a pretty nice deer that I do have pictures of at the end of deer season. He was alive. And I told myself, even last year, if I don't get to kill this 10-point, somebody kills him, because that's always in the back of your mind when you're hunting deer, oh my gosh, somebody's going to kill him. And I think that did happen. I think someone killed him. But the 8-point that he was with, is still alive. And he come into the spot a lot. There's certain weather conditions that he come in more favorable. And that's what I'm going to put this trail camera up there to see if that 8-point's there. He was alive, and I'm using the data gathered from seasons past to hunt this deer. That's kind of what I talk about in great detail in my timing and hunting mature bucks online course, is understanding how one season to the next and the timing these deer out, because it's a small window and it's prime to kill this deer at this spot. If he's there, I've got a short window just like last year, prime time was within the first week of bow season. I had the deer many times in the daylight coming to this spot after that. Even after all that happened and my son spooked him, I had the deer 2 days later. I just wasn't there. That first week was just everything was prime. But he still, I mean, I had him fighting with the 8-point late October in the middle of daytime. I was there for about 45 minutes. Had pictures of hundreds of pictures of him and with this 8-point that I think I'm going to be going after. But guys, I don't hear many guys talk about that. I don't hear many guys talk about using the data from previous years to pattern these deer from years to come. We're looking at last year's and what weather patterns. Guys, there's short windows where the weather conditions are perfect. Certain food sources are what they're really hitting hard, and everything's lining up. And then that's when your percentages get really high. And using these trail cameras and the data that you gain and studying the weather conditions from years past will get you what you need. Okay? Now don't hear guys talking about that, because that is what you need to really stack them odds in your favor, to really raise the percentages as high as you can possibly get them to killing that deer, especially when you're talking about bow hunting mature bucks on public property, okay, or a small property. If you have a small property, it's even more valuable because everything's got to line up. Certain food sources, certain weather conditions, if it all lines up just perfect, makes your spot hot, okay? And understanding all that is invaluable. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video here. This is Jacob Schmidt with DeerHuntingSchool.com. Check out DeerHuntingSchool.com for more tips, things like that on deer hunting. Have a good day, and bye-bye.